test that you get in school is important. Every test you get in school, even if the teacher were to call you in a class, and usually the teacher may say, well, we have a surprise test coming up next week. All these different tests that you do, they calculate towards your grade point average. Every test you do has something to do with it. So if you do a test and you have a test next week and you don't study for it and you get a 30, don't you know that 30 is going to go on your report card? That is what you report for your grade point average. Parents, ding, ding. I'm sending a signal to you. Every test, even if it's a maths test and you get 4 questions to do, guys, every test you do in school goes towards your end result in terms of school. And when you put that in your grade point average and you calculate it, it comes up what it is. So if you were hitting 80 and 90 consistently, you know, when you calculate that for your grade point average, you're going to realize you are in 3.6, 3.7, 4 point something. When you start hitting like the 90s and the 80s consistently, every test you start hitting in that favor. Even if you're getting a C, which is in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, late 79, 78, and all around there going up. When you add your grade point average, you would be surprised you're getting a 3.6, 3.4. And that's the difference with you guys getting that kind of money from a school that you're trying to get. Yes, guys?
And I wanna give a footballing analogy to that, Coach. For the students here, if you go to training and you don't perform well, you're not being picked for the starting 11. And so it's like training every day is the test that you have in school. You know, like the tests that you take and the homework that you do are creating, and all the classwork that you do are creating your GPA. That is like, can that person pick you in the starting 11? You know, like, do you want to be in the starting 11? Do you want to play 90 minutes? Do you want to, you know, like, your GPA is going to dictate that. So when you go to class and like, I don't feel like it, think about the next time when you go to training, you know, or you next time you get to play in a game, you usually you feel like it. I've never found a player who's like, I don't feel like training today, you know, and so like it's like the student athlete is real. The student comes before the athlete. They don't say you're an athletic student, you're a student athlete. And that kind of plays into Isaiah's question here, asking about basically how to separate himself apart regarding the highlight. I'm saying this a lot. There's a lot of good loaded questions. Maybe it's because of how I think about things, but me personally, I'm gonna know in the first 90 seconds what you value, what you think makes you a good player. If I see a defender making lots of slide tackles, I know that you think that's cool. If I see a winger, you know, always taking people on and trying to do a bunch of, you know, really fancy stuff, I know you think that's important. And so how do you make yourself stand out? It depends on who you want to impress. I don't want a defender who slides, because that generally means they're out of position and lazy. And yes, there's times for it, but if that's at the beginning and you're showing that early, I would put your best stuff. Like, we actually had a player here that I'm watching his, and he's a center back, and I said, don't slide. So why in the world early did you put this slide tackle last ditch thing, like really in the first few seconds? And then he's got this just booted ball forward. It's against a bad team. And, you know, because I said, don't get caught up in the result of the play. Like, this guy scores a goal, but it's a terrible ball against a team that's all out of shape. And so it's an easy over the top. It's not a zinged ball into the striker's foot. It's just a clipped ball over the top against a really bad team. But he thinks it's good because we scored. And I said, it wasn't a good pass. It's not who you are, because this guy can break lines into people 30, 40 yards, playing the ball zinged on the ground. I was like, that other thing is not who you are, but just he got caught up in the end result of a goal. But there's a difference between a great goal and just scoring against a bad team. And so like picking and choosing the good decisions. You know, I want to see like in midfielders, they're checking their shoulders. You could be playing against the absolute worst team, but if you received with the what I would consider the correct foot, and you pass with the correct foot, and you're checking your shoulders, and you're busy, and you're defending, and you're not just showing I score a ton of goals, because the college game is by and large a game of transition and defending. Generally, there's a lot of transition, there's a lot of pressing. So the defending isn't necessarily sitting back, it's on the front foot. Teams are putting pressure. There's, you know, substitutions are different than the international game. And so, you know, not everybody plays a lot of players, but they can. And so like being able to show I defend, I've got my awareness, I can, you know, I can't pass with both feet. And there's a difference between passing, where I think you've actually had to dribble and actually do something with the ball. And it's a difference of like me, I don't have a good left foot, but I can fool you into thinking I do, because I will open my body up as that ball's coming, and I can one time play it 15 yards. All I'm doing is redirecting the ball. I'm not actually passing the ball. I'm using the inertia that's coming in, and I'm keeping the ball moving, because I know me, I was never a great player, but I can fool you. I've had different teams like, oh, coach, you still have eligibility? Nope, but I'm just smart, and I know how to like lure people in. And I won't embarrass anybody, but I use the foxiness that I have as an older person, and some just a once in a while do I step in, and then people, oh my gosh, but it's like, no, I can only go about 5 minutes and I'm gonna pass out. So it's a good question, and I think like separating yourself out there is, and it's always challenging. You might not have the video cameras and things, you know, like, but iPhones now have good cameras. If anybody pays attention to the Blinn Instagram account, all those videos that are shot on there are done on an iPhone. You know, I turned it up to like, what do I do for them? Like 60K. So I increased the quality instead of just taking a regular HD video. But you can do that on an iPhone now, and it'll take a lot of memory. But if you get that, you can take clips and you can put it into, you know, iMovie or whatever, and you can create a highlight from just like a phone now. It's not the best, but if you don't have a camera available to you, you can still get good clips. Goalkeepers, I will say this, having a good training session is a lot better than seeing game action. Like, I want to see game action, but training is going to show better habits, because in a game you shouldn't see the ball that much. So you need to see more of the reaction and your work ethic in a training session. But you need to see a game portion as well, as like, how do you have the ability, like Jadiel who was on here, he's got the ability to drive a ball with both feet and pass with both feet. And like, you know, if he's doing a training section, you're not going to see a keeper doing a lot of passing generally, and it'll get missed and those kind of things. But in an actual game, the coach can see that stuff. So, you know, making yourself stand out, I would say in that first 90 seconds, kind of show everything that you are. For me personally, I don't generally watch more than 90 seconds. My attention span's really small, I guess. Hopefully I'm seeing what I want to see, but I also either get really bored or go, I want to call them. That's kind of where I am after 90 seconds. I know people want to watch a full game and all this stuff. I actually want to get to know the kid. I'm bigger on the personality and the character. Because if I picked something up that I think is interesting, then I want to find out what your mentality or psychology behind you is. That's me. Other people are going to want to see more, but I would say to help put yourself to stand out, that first 90 seconds, put defending and attacking, you know, the best clips there, and make sure that they can see who you are, you know, that you're, and you talked about that the last time I was on here, about making sure it was obvious who you were. So let's see here, kind of jumping back down, Galaxy 7. I don't know if you're I wanted to make a joke, but it's gone. I didn't know if you were a cousin of Darth Vader there or something. But do many players from NAI D2 make it professional? not many go from anywhere to professional. So no, because it's an elite group. You know, they say that the top 5% of players play in college. I would say that's not real. It's not the top 5 actual talented players. It's the top 5% that, you know, do everything to find the place. Now, in the professional game, I'll say this, that because I don't know if you're a male or female, Bethany Balser was the silver ball winner in the NWSL this year. She was also the rookie of the year in her rookie season for the OL Reign. She played at Spring Arbor. That's not her jersey. That's one of my men's players. But she played at Spring Arbor NAI in Michigan. Now, she was the first NAI player ever to make it to the NWSL, but she won't be the last. And, you know, there are D2 players, there are NAI players. And if you talk about professional, I always go, well, what do you mean by that? Because I coach in the Antraliga in Lithuania. That's the 3rd division there, but it's not the 3rd division comparatively to the 3rd division in the US. And so there's different levels within the professional game all over the world. If you talk about the MLS, you talk about the Premier League, you talk about the Bundesliga, there's not many players from anywhere that make those levels. USL, NISA here in the US, you talk about the Scandinavian leagues, you're going to find more college players who have made those pathways. But just generally, like, it's the elite, and that's why it's like, to be actually a pro where you're making a living, it's the elite of the elite. And you can still make it professional. This is not to put anybody backwards, because I've actually had 2 who have gone on to sign contracts and play, and I've known others, and the head coach has had about 20 and 21 years. So it's feasible, but in reality, as someone who's also coached in the professional game, you know, by the time you're 20, you need thousands of professional minutes, thousands, if you're actually going to make it as a bona fide millionaire pro. You know, and that's where, like, the Marcus Rashfords and the Adnan Januzajs and those kind of players that come through the ranks and they're discovered and they're at a different level. The guys here at training the other day were like, oh my gosh, they're talking about somebody, and like, they felt so terrible about themselves because so and so is their age and they're playing in the Champions League. Well, that's the difference in like abilities and, you know, kind of talent. Like Kylian Mbappe is blessed with more talent than I will ever dream of having on the field. So like, it's a good question, because there are tons of professional opportunities. And I actually talked to a player last night who's trying to go professionally, and I want to hook him up with one of my contacts who's an agent to see if I can help him out with that. And he's an NAI player, you know, so and both of the players that I had go play professionally play junior college, and one of them played NAI. So that's kind of the, you know, scenario. Apologize here.
Beautiful. Coach, I want to thank you so much, Coach. I want to thank the audience, Coach. I know you spent a lot of time with us. You answered a lot of questions, Coach, and some very, very interesting information you give us tonight, Coach. And I want to thank you so much for it. And parents, to those of you who are interested in getting into school, I'll leave you the information for the WhatsApp group, 954-380-4829. 954-380-4829 for the WhatsApp group. Please join the group. That is where we put all the information in there for different coaches, different opportunities they have available. And as Coach mentioned to you, in terms of the programs, 1,000 and something programs, female, 1,000 and something programs, male, a lot of schools, a lot of soccer being played in the US. And as I said, the opportunities are here for those who prepare themselves for the opportunity. You got to prepare yourself. You cannot wait for someone to get you going. You got to show the initiative. You got to do the research. You got to gather the information. And as I said before, I would want to continue helping as much as I can, but you have to do the work too in the process. Because a lot of the questions to come directly to me, and some of these questions, guys, I must say, those are some of the things you can do research on. you can do research on and get that information, guys. Because if those questions come to me, it makes me think, okay, if this is something that you can research, how are you going to function in a 2-year school? How are you going to function in a 4-year school if this is something that you could just simply go up on Google and pull that information up? So when you go into school and you get those kind of problems to work out, how are you going to work those problems out? You know, so these are some of the things, kids and parents, some of these things you can research. And if you research it and you get some information and you don't feel so secure about the information, then you can text and say, Coach, well, this is the information I get, but how, you know, I want to find out how this would relate to me. Someone is asking for the group. It's 954-380-4829. 954-380-4829. Once you text, I would send you the information. You get in the group. All the information is there in the group pertaining to schools, what you need to do to qualify, your information, your written profile, your video profile to coach. And once again, Coach, I want to thank you for sharing with us.
Absolutely. I know you said we weren't going to share anything but my email, but I wanted to know if I could actually share my social media handles. Is that probably the easiest?
Sure, you can. Yep. You can type it in there, Coach. Coach is going to type the information inside of their 2 social media handles, and the information is there where you can get that information and you know, work on your game, guys, and not just your game. Work on your you know, the athletic part of it, and also to the academic part of it, guys. You want to work on that. Prepare yourself for where you're going, guys. You know, at this age or this stage of your life, there's no guessing, guys. You gotta prepare for where you're going. You gotta be organized. You gotta do the research. You have to remember you're leaving to go in a total different part of the world you're going. You gotta be able to settle down with all the different, you know, the environment and what is transpiring there, to be able to settle. Coach explained to you, you know, the countryside, the schools in the countryside, the schools in the New York area where coach don't want to go anymore, that kind of stuff. You know, you got to get that information. Are you going to go in a place that has 4 seasons? What is the snow like when it happens over there? And coach is telling you, got to come out and train in the morning. Snow is not gonna, you know, be a problem. You got to get out and train. Or you want to go down into Florida, you know, in those areas too. Mind you too, there's a lot of cold places in Florida. I spend a lot of time downside of there too. So just to share that information with you guys. And coach, I want to thank you so much again for spending time with us. And we want to wish you much success in your endeavor, coach. And as I said, it's just an honor to be your friend and to chat with you as we continue to share information back and forth. And as I said, coach, we cut from the same plot because we are about people. We are about people. We are not focused and we are not financially driven in what we are doing. We are about helping and supporting and guiding. And coach even said it just now, and that really warms my heart, where he is helping kids that didn't get into his school. He's helping them to get into other schools. And this is what it is about, guys. Reaching out and helping each other. Coach, I want to leave you with something that you didn't know, but I didn't know either when you started. You said you did a brain surgery, right? Mm-hmm. Could I tell you too, I did one too?
Really? We are cut from the same cloth indeed.
This is what I'm saying, coach. Way back when I did a neck and brain surgery, coach, I had fluid leaking from my brain down into my spinal cords. And it started in Trinidad, not to be long. I was sneezing a lot in Trinidad with the different times, the pollen and that kind of stuff. And the doctors in Trinidad they didn't know what it was. And I came and I moved across here about 20-something years ago. And I had, and guess who spotted it, coach? A Trinidadian doctor living in Florida spotted it.
Wow.
I did some tests and I would black out, coach, but I black out for a couple of seconds. Just for a couple of seconds, my eyesight would just go.
Yep.
Sneezing. And then the doctor called me. I will call his name. He loves a lot of soccer. Dr. Michael Alexander. You guys in Trinidad might know him. And he called me a day, coach. He called me on the phone. He said, Anthony. He said, I need you to come to my office. It's urgent. I said, well, Doc, you got to be frightened here. You know what I mean? What's going on? He said, Anthony, I really need you. I'm testifying now to some of you. Coach is telling you what he dealt with. And he called me. He said, Anthony, I need you to come, and I don't want you to drive. I want somebody to drive you to my office. So, Doc, this thing, the more you speak to me, the more serious this thing is getting. Doc, what's really going on here? Say, Anthony, I really need to sit with you. I need to have a chat with you pertaining to this thing, because we did some MRIs, and they put you in all these big machines and they scanned you and all that kind of stuff. They did the scan with me. And then he said, okay, so I call, I get a ride, and I got dropped there, and I sit down and I say, Anthony, I need to explain to you. And you could go and do a second, second opinion on it. But you have an issue here, Anthony. You got some fluid leaking because your brain moves in your head. You got some fluid leaking down in your spinal cord. And this is something few people are born with, Anthony. And this is what is happening. When you sneeze, that is where you get in that problem with that blackout. I said, Doc, okay, I'm going to get a second opinion. Oh, give me a second opinion. I went to Dr. Matthew Moore. I remember these guys. Dr. Matthew Moore, he studied in Boston, surgeon. And I went by Dr. Moore, and Dr. Moore said, Anthony, it's true. We need to go in there. We need to close up that space. And, it's your spinal cord. So, well, Doc, what is the chance? He said, well, Anthony, this is serious because your spinal cord, if we touch that, Anthony, you could be in some trouble. You can either be crippled or you can die. So, long story, coach, and I know you've been through it, long story. As I say, we cut from the same cloth, coach. They did the surgery, that kind of stuff. Very expensive. Over 250,000 US dollars. The surgery was done, and they cut the neck, went to the back of the head. They went in, did the surgery. And, I was out for a couple of days, and I didn't, to be honest with you, coach, when I get up, dude, that's where the problem started. They had me lying down on my face, and I was on the bed lying down. And, when you get up, you don't know where you are. So when I get up, you get up, you got trying to get up the same way. So I get up trying to get up from the bed, and I'm feeling this pain behind my neck. Can't remember I did a surgery. So when I try to get up, I feel a pain, coach, in the back of my neck. So then I try to turn left, and I see beds on the side of me. I turn right, coach, and I see beds on the side of me. And then it came back to me. Anthony, you did the surgery. And it took me, coach, months to walk.
Wow.
I had to do electric shock treatments, coach, on my neck, on my back. I could not turn my neck like this, coach. My whole body I had was to turn around. And even in the hospital too, they came for me with a walker because, you got to go through physiotherapy and that kind of stuff, coach. Yes, I went through that therapy. It's a long story, coach, but just to let you know, we cut from the same cloth. We're going to continue some of this conversation because we got some things to talk on. So once again, coach, any last words you want to leave us with, coach, before we go?
I guess Isaiah asked me about my new journey.
Yes,
I'll talk and it's a good question, and Stephen said great testimony. I agree. Like he actually went through a little bit different. I had I'll come back to Isaiah in a second. I went through a time when it was like just stopping and blank. I didn't realize what was going on, and being like might be shopping, and my mom would be like, "Come on, like what are you doing?" I'd just be blank, and then I'd be like, didn't know anything happened, and it progressed to where like I started complaining, and this is like I'm talking like 6-8 years old kind of time frame, and I started complaining about metal taste, and so it was like the family doctor was going to have me come in. They thought I was having an issue with my esophagus where I was getting like stomach fluid up. And so it was like part of the test was stay up all night, don't eat, no sleep for 24 hours, you don't drink water. And that caused me like nutrition lacking to cause me to have a grand mal seizure, convulsive shaking, some stop of breath. And of course, at like 3 o'clock in the morning, my parents called the doctor when this is happening, said, I don't think it's his esophagus. And they got a bigger problem, so brought me in. I had CAT scan, EEG, EKG, all these tests that put things on your head. I had another seizure, and God bless the nurse. She was a young nurse, and I come out of it, and like when you have a seizure, your brain is like scrambled. It's misfiring and everything. So you come out of it, and it's like you're disoriented and you're messed up. But I remember, and I was very young. This is like one of those moments. She's like, she was so ecstatic because she had never seen a seizure. She'd only read about it when she was a student. And I was like, I don't know what was going on with me. But for years, I had seizures. They never could figure it out. And actually, one of my doctors thought they were induced by sports. So I couldn't play sports anymore. And that was like a key development of soccer time, like 12 years old, or 10 years old. And I stopped playing soccer. And so, and like they'd go away, I'd be on medication, take you off. He's like, epilepsy, as it was determined, is like, they don't know why you have seizures. So they didn't find anything. So you have epilepsy, you put on medication to, you know, like put it in a Band-Aid on something, and they would go away and they'd wean me off, and they'd come back and they'd get worse. And then they'd do it all over again. And then finally, 1992, the MRI became prevalent in the USA. So the first MRI I ever had, the doctor, we had been off on a vacation, and we come back, and it's my dad and I. Doctor says, come on in after the MRI results, and we go in, and they take him back to the office, and I'm sitting there like 11 years old at the time, 12 probably. Yeah, I would have been 12, sitting there just like sitting. I've been in so many hospitals and everything. I'm just chilling. And my dad comes out, and he is white as a sheet of paper. Just, he looks ill. What's wrong with this dude? So I go back in there, and I'm ecstatic. You've given me a reason of why this stuff's been happening. But the doctor actually said the right temporal lobe at the time, we don't, and maybe they probably knew something, but he said, we don't know what that does. You know, if it was the other side, speech, you know, all these other things could have been really bad. But he's like, you're lucky. And so set it up in June 1992. You'll see on social media every June, I celebrate that. You see the worst haircut ever, because half of my hair is gone, and I got a black eye. I've looked like I was in some bad war fight, and survived. And it was like one giant stitch. The whole side of my head was one stitch. It looked really amazing, but it's actually why, like this, like I don't shave every day, but this is why I started shaving, because like out of the mouths of babes, they have no filter. And so they'll just go, what happened? And it opens up the door, right? And like I know you coach a lot of young kids, coach, and like I was at one point when I was at Montreat actually going in doing things for ABYSA, Asheville Buncombe Youth Soccer Association. It was soccer in the schools, and I was going elementaries and primary schools and basic, having fun in PE class. And that was like the most amazing thing, because 10% of the population will have at least one seizure in their life.
Yeah.
And so I'm usually the 10%, but here I am, and this kid just warms up to me, and because he's asking me questions and everything, and like after the class, the teacher's like, oh, kid's never been involved in PE. He always sits out, all this stuff, and he ends up coming back like during lunch or whatever the period you had free. He comes back and wanted to know if he could be in the class, and come to find out he had the same scar, and he just thought he was like scarred, that there was nobody else like him. And it was like, those are the moments of life happens for us, not to us. That I think is, you know, like you'll have those times when like you've gone through stuff, and you'll better have a player who's injured, and like you had to do rehab, and like people that have been through different things can help players like overcome and recover, I think, in a better way than like the person who was like, fortunate I never was like injured playing, but I had this other thing. So Isaiah, back about my new journey, I am a coach who cares about development. He said, it looks like I'm a coach who focuses on development. I am, because I think we all should never stop growing. And so I do focus on, like, I was talking to a player yesterday, and I'll probably have a conversation with the same, with another player tonight, and it'll come up, and, you know, they ask like my behavior on the sideline and things. And there was a game, it was a pro development league last summer in Michigan, and don't have all our best players. Like, we got third choice here's and so on and so forth. And 5 minutes of the game, we're 2-0 up. And I turned to the bench and I said, I'm going to coach more today than I normally would. And I wasn't ranting and raving. I might have actually been wearing the exact same thing that I'm wearing today, but I was consistently up and down like Klopp, you know, and press, squeeze, transition, like just not letting the standard drop.
Right.
Because like we were the dominant team. We ended up winning 10-0. And my actual critique, and I told the team afterwards, it was a fantastic performance and an unbelievable result. It still is actually the biggest win in that conference's history in the Pro Development League. But I said, in the 90th minute, we gave up one shot on target to that team. And I said, that can't happen, because when you're so much more dominant, when you drop your concentration for 1 second, well, guess what? You're going to switch off against a better team and they're going to punish you. And goal differential matters, but like in life, if you drop your focus and you drop your concentration for one moment, you could miss a chance. And in life, and so teaching that, like, yeah, there are times to take a vacation, but I think like one of the things that I am is like work hard and be committed to always growing and improving. I'm stubborn on some areas too. I think we all get to that point. But like my main goal is one of the things that's really cool about my journey as a coach, and we care about people, Coach said, and I do. I'm massively excited, and actually gives me goosebumps, chill bumps, whatever you want to call it, that players that I've coached over the number of years, because of COVID, because of situations and different things, I have a chance to maybe coach 12 players or so that I've coached in the past. And as a JUCO coach, you say, see you later, and they're like a father, and you watch them from a distance and you see them grow, and I stay, I talk to them, but like they're out of the nest, so to speak, and you just get to enjoy what their successes that they have with other people. But I've always kind of yearned to have a longer time with players, and then like Blenn's going to be another example, is unintentionally, but the players that I've coached in junior college, I usually have only coached for a single year, but I stay connected to them in a lot of cases for life. And this morning, one of my former players was, and he's 26, 27 now, so I coached him a long time ago. And he's like asking for my advice and things in his life, and so like there I am with that person. And like the other day, I'm messaging a girl that I coached, probably picture's not in here, but she was probably 14, and she's got a master's in like athletic training, and she's playing professional indoor soccer, and like that's a kid I coached when they were a teeny bopper, and so it's like really important. So the cool thing about the new journey is it's a 4-year school, and I get to reunite with people, and the freshmen that I bring in, I don't have for 4 years, and I'll be able to have that kind of thing that I've been missing. I've been at some 4-year schools, never been a head coach at a 4-year school, so this is why I say there's a number of reasons, but it's a destination. It's got everything that I've been looking for, but my main goal is to just keep providing opportunities for people, if I'm going to put it in a nutshell. And it's kind of great because my boss at Blenn and I've been friends for 21 years. The funny story is, like, his first win as a college coach, I was in the losing end as a player. And so like we've got a coach for a year. And I thought it'd be a lot longer. But I guess when you've been a head coach, and there's certain things about being a head coach that like in the last, I don't know, so I flew to that school on Tuesday, in and out, and ever since then it's been like, yesterday I think I had 37 phone calls that I took or received, and it was like the day before I didn't even count, but I was like, there was one time when I was talking to somebody, I had to call 5 other people back, and like to a lot of people that would be like, oh my gosh, but to me it's like actually my juices run a lot. It's just like all of a sudden I'm so excited, and it's like I know after this I'm gonna have to charge my AirPods for probably the 5th time today. It's like it's always an ongoing piece, and it's like that's what's one of those things that, like, as an assistant, it's not bad, it's not, but it's been not boring, but it's like not been the same. And so like that's an exciting thing for me, is like having that back in my life, because I've been that before. And so do I think we can win where I'm going to go? Yeah. I don't ever go any place that I think we won't win. And the school's done a lot to show real commitment, that really, like, I thought it was a good job on the surface, but they just kept it showing more and more and more. And I'm like, wow, there's a commitment to excellence, and that's one of the things. Like the school aligns with me, the athletic director, we align, and I'm like, I told some people, I said, actually, in the midst of the first interview, it didn't feel like an interview anymore. We were having a conversation like we are. And then like we were collaborating about things and bouncing ideas off each other. It wasn't like, asking these questions. And it just became a totally different thing. And it would have been like if my boss had been the only one on the interview panel, like we would have been having the same conversation here, but I didn't have a 21-year relationship with the AD at this school. And I was like, it just felt so. There's a commitment to excellence, and they've got programs that are already really strong. I've texted a few kids and they want to know what school it is. And I'm like, I want to talk to them. Because again, if they look on the surface, they would go, oh my gosh, the team is not good. But it's not like, the kids asked me there when I met with both teams, they said, why our school? And I said, oh, well, there's a number. And I said, but one of the first things is, like, as a head coach, I've had the second most improved win-loss team in the country. As an assistant coach, I had the third most improved team in the country win-loss. And I said, one of those weird things that I've always wanted is to have the most improved win-loss team in the country. And I said, it's not to put down the players here, because I said, you actually have an opportunity to be a part of this and be the cornerstones of it. You went through something very unfortunate, and there's a lot of things that I know that I will never share, but you went through some bad stuff. And I said, you got the opportunity to be the most improved teams in the country on both the men's and women's side at the same time. And I said, I can't promise that. It's going to be a lot of hard work. It's not sunshine and rainbows, but being able to have that maybe on the straight off in the front foot, and then be able to build on that and have a longevity of a program. Because some of my best mentors and friends, Garris the Car is at Westminster in Pennsylvania. He's been there over 30 years. Ray Wells at Lindsey Wilson just retired, and he was there for over 30 years. Dr. J. Martin at Ohio Wesleyan. He's been to the national tournament more times than the years I am alive. So he's been to the national tournament, I think 42 times in 44 seasons. That's longevity. At my age, if I coach for 44 years, I'll be real old, coach. I'll be real old. But if I can, stay in some place and setting up a foundation, that's the thing. Like, I've had great experiences and I've moved around a lot and I've learned a lot and I've gained from that. I think now is the time in this new destination is like putting all that and taking all the connections and the things and bottling it into a long term. So that's kind of the thing I would say to Isaiah, and I appreciate that. But like at Blinn, it's a great place, and it's hard to leave, but it's exciting to go at the or arrive at the same time. So I've met a lot of great friends and a lot of great connections here, and the school's amazing. There are good people all over the place. So, but thank you, Coach. I know I went a little longer there, and I went longer than I thought.
All is good. All is good, Coach. Thank you so much for sharing, and looking forward to sending you some more profiles, Coach, of some of the kids in the Caribbean. I know we have already discussed some of them, and you show a lot of interest in a lot of them. So I'm looking forward to sharing more with you, Coach, and continue to work in closely with you as we continue along this journey in different places, touching and changing life, Coach. Kids and parents, thank you guys so much again. Looking forward to continue serving you guys as I look at myself as a humble servant to continue to try and open up doors and create a future. At the end of the day, we can't take the money with us, we can't take the house with us, but we could take a legacy and leave a legacy behind of service. So thanks again, Coach. Many blessings to you and your family. Look forward to communicating with you. Guys, look out for the group. Look out for information on our different social media pages. And you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourself. Be safe. And God bless.